If you are a business owner, public figure, or in high level of leadership, and you want to curate an abundant, balanced life by uncovering the blocks that stand in your way and tune into your own wisdom, you are in the right place. In this podcast, we talk about personal and professional tools and strategies so that you can elevate your potential, expand your impact, and enjoy your life. I'm your host, Angela Williams. I'm a licensed therapist, coach, guide, speaker, educator, avid beachgoer, and I've helped thousands of clients achieve personal growth and transformation. Let's dive in. Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. I wanted to share today a recent interview that I had the pleasure of doing with one of my friends, Lindsay Trammell Jones. She is a wonderful human being. She has kind of a dual career, which is very cool. She's actually one of our guests on a previous episode of the Bigger, Braver Life show. If you go back to season 1, she is there speaking about her journey, and she's really impressive and amazing. And now she is helping you to focus on your brand, your website, drive more traffic, build your business, grow, all of the great things. But I had the pleasure of being on her podcast recently called More Than a Brand, and I just absolutely love how this interview unfolded. We were able to talk about some really important concepts, being a business owner, a mom. What does it mean to look at ourselves without our titles? All of the good things that we touch on in this podcast as well. So I wanted to share this episode with you today. I hope you get some amazing gems, and please go follow her over at More Than a Brand, and I will link that in the show notes. Enjoy.
Welcome to More Than a Brand podcast, where we show you how to take your brand from basic to badass. I'm your host, Lindsay Trammell Jones, the WordPress Whisperer, the Olivia Pope of Web Design, and the owner of Fiercified Creative and Consulting. I invite you to sit back, grab your favorite glass of wine, and your note takers, because I'm dropping jewels all season long.
Hello. I am here with Angela Williams. She helps you with your brand, but she also helps you with your mindset. She is a new mom. She's a podcaster, a business owner. And despite all of that, Angela, tell us who you are without all the titles.
I love this question. I think it's so much fun because you're right. We're constantly introducing ourselves with our titles. Like, I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I'm a mindset life leadership coach. But without all the titles, I'm curious. I love nature. I love to create. I love the beach. I'm a person who loves rest but loves play. I love to just research and discover and read, and I love to see transformation of people and things and processes. So that would be me, I think, without the titles.
I like that. So you said that transformation of people. Would you say, because you are a new mom, how old is your son now?
He is 10 months now.
10 months. How has that transformation been?
It's been a whirlwind, honestly. Because I grew up, my extended family is very large. My mom has 10 on her side and my dad has 8 on his side. And a lot of those people had kids, and then their kids had kids, right? So we have a very large extended family, which has been awesome. And then I was like the resident babysitter for a while. So I've had lots of practice babysitting family members and different jobs that I've had, professional jobs as well, working with kids. And so I was like, oh yeah, like I'm good, I'm ready. Like I know how to change a diaper. Like I have more experience with some of these things. But what was really difficult for me was, I think, dealing with a lot of the health stuff that came with my baby. So he ended up being an emergency C-section delivery. And so it was like really dramatic, really wild, traumatic. I would even say to some point, there was a lot there with that transformation. And then I had complications with myself afterwards too. So having to navigate health things, plus being a new mom, plus not going off of the 9 hours, which is my like lovely sleep.
Yes.
No, you don't get that. So all of that was really wild. And my son he's a big boy. He's very tall. He's very big. He's 24 pounds now. And he's always been a really good eater. So especially at the beginning, he was like cluster feeding a lot too. So it was like keeping up with that. Am I doing things right? And it brought a lot of, I would say, some of those under-resolved beliefs and insecurities to the table too. Am I doing this right? Am I doing my best? Not just am I doing this right, but am I doing my very best? And navigating all the health stuff, it didn't feel like that. It's a lot of transformation. And I really leaned into faith. I really leaned into my friends, my new mom group, my old mom groups that like family therapy. Right? So I leaned in a lot to help me support me through that transformation. But it was a very big one, I will say.
It is. And I can say as a mom of two, so I would say I'm a new mom again because my oldest daughter is 15. Right. And you forget those things that happened when they were younger. And then we have the toddler who's Carter, and she's 3. And that transition from I've been dealing with a pretty much self-sufficient kid that's 15 to now you need a lot. You need a lot. It is a transition. And health-wise, I didn't deal with I think I've talked about this on other episodes, but the edges of my hair fell out after I had my second child. Did not experience it with my first one. Right. And it was just like, what is happening? Like, I've done this before. This is not, I don't remember any of this. So it was definitely a transition, not just mentally, but also physically, and getting used to the new body, the new everything, truly. Because even nursing, I nursed him for a while, as long as I could. And even that, just sharing your body with somebody, your baby, right? Even that's a whole mental, emotional thing that you have to navigate. There's so many things. You see it and you notice it from other people while you're without kids. You see that going through this, but you don't know until it's really in your body and your feelings and your own thoughts. Like it's a whole different world. And everybody experiences it differently too. So it's like hard to even compare. Yes. Even same body, different children. It's no comparison. There you go. That's a great example too. Yeah. So you help people with their mindset. How do you help them through when they're transitioning through whatever, either it's their business, their life? How do you help them? Yeah. So this is a really great example. And for me, I've always approached things in a way of holistically looking at the problem and the solutions, if you will, or the challenges and the solutions. I developed through my years as a social worker, as a therapist, as an educator, as a business owner. I've developed this formula, this method called the Brain Soul Method. And essentially the goal is for you to feel fully aligned, feel clear, feel fully aligned in what you're doing, and to feel having that mental and emotional mastery as much as you can as you are navigating life and work and all the things that come with that. A lot of different tools in there are getting to the root of what is this bringing up for you. As we talked about, motherhood's a great example of that, because for me, there was so much that was coming up for me around guilt, like the guilt of not doing enough or doing something wrong or not knowing or whatever. There was a lot of that I had to process. And so understanding it first. And then there was a lot of safety concerns I had because of my health and how that went about. So I sought holistic care in that I went to a chiropractor, I went to an acupuncturist, I went to my typical doctors, and sought Chinese medicine. I read books. Like I was really trying to approach this from a multifaceted way, because the traditional medicine wasn't helping me when I had like severe postpartum depression and anxiety. I had that for a little bit thereafter. And so that was very hard for me to navigate, and the traditional medicine route was not it for me. And so seeking Chinese medicine was very helpful and beneficial, and getting the therapy, like the trauma work and stuff like that, was more beneficial to me. So it's really about, one, getting clear on what's going on for you internally and externally. So that's the first part of it. The second part of it is, how do we come up with solutions, and we come up with those solutions from all these different types of approaches. We're pulling from different things, because it's not a one size fits all solution, right? It's got to be what feels good for you. So for example, when I had the postpartum depression and anxiety, they wanted to prescribe me, I think it was Zoloft.
And I took it and I felt like I was going to die. Actually, it made my symptoms so horribly
Oh,
bad that
no.
it was bad, right? Like it was not
Mhm.
good. And so I was like, this is not for me. I'm not doing this ever again. Like I cannot be worse off than I was because that was really horrible.
Yes.
So that's what led me to seeking other support from having a support team that I already had established and asking for that. So the person who does my chiropractic work actually does Chinese medicine and craniosacral therapy and
Okay.
other things, right, too. So that was really great to have that resource already built into my support team. That's something that I talk about with my clients too, is like, how can we build you a support team right now if you don't already have that, or how can we add your support team before some crisis happens so that you already can have that in play? Because it's hard enough to ask for help in
It
general,
is.
especially for us, right? Like successful, high achieving, hardworking people, like it
Mhm.
help. And having support already built in, having your support team there is such a great gift. And so, yeah, that it's getting clear, it's finding different solutions, and it's testing them and seeing what works for you and leaning into your own personal intuition and knowledge and wisdom because you have that in your body, and learning how to read that and feel confident in that.
Oh, I like that. I like that you use, or for you personally, you approach your health in not just a traditional way. You looked at outside sources to help you. Have you always been holistic focused, or if, like, would you say that's always been you?
Yeah, so my parents are a mix of like traditional medicine and like, yeah, traditional medicine's a scam, right? So it's like a skeptical approach, I guess, to it. And
Mhm.
but I'll go. I will go. I'm not going to resist going when I need to.
Yeah.
But it's more of a skeptical in the way of let's look at all these different options. I don't know if you hear these stories about like how people have maybe like I heard one, for example, like a woman who I think she had cancer. I want to say it was like throat cancer, and
Mhm.
she was a nurse, but she studied all these different like healing techniques in traditional medicine and outside of traditional medicine,
Yeah.
and was able to cure her cancer. These things are possible in
Yeah.
reality. What do we need to do to get that in a way that feels good for us? Are you a high achieving female leader ready to break through your success ceiling? I would love to invite you to join the Aligned Leaders Circle, a warm, welcoming space where ambitious and smart female leaders come together to grow. This isn't just about developing your leadership skills, it's about aligning your mindset, emotions, and body wisdom so you can lead with greater ease and purpose. In this exclusive community, you'll experience real transformations, gain deep self awareness, and connect with women who are committed to thriving. If you're ready to go beyond your limits in a safe, collaborative environment, visit angelamarie.co/individuals to join us at Founders Rates for a limited time only. Now, back to the show.
I like that. My sister, she's in the medical field. She's a paramedic.
Yeah.
And she's really into like herbs and plants and using those things to heal. My daughter, my youngest one, she had really bad eczema. And she would try different mixes of different things. And now you can't even tell she ever had it. But we've
That's great.
used this stuff because it's the stuff we're buying off the store. It gives her some relief, but it didn't go away.
Sure.
So now with the concoction, I don't
Yeah.
even know what's in it. She doesn't tell me
Well,
what's
I'm
in
gonna
it.
get that recipe because we also have some eczema over here.
Yeah, whatever she put in it. We put it on her, and at first we used it more often, but as it started going away, we didn't use it as much. So I can see where I feel like we're probably close to the same age, but in the past, I'm gonna say it's 2000. It just seems now it's becoming more acceptable or more widely acceptable
Yeah.
to look at other ways instead of just like, well, just go to the doctor.
Right. No, I do think so. I think with the global reach of social media too, because I found
Mhm.
actually just a random example on TikTok the other day. I found this book and it's called The Lost. art of plant medicine or something of that nature. And I was like, oh, this is great. Like, I do want to use plants to help me and support me. And so I bought the book and I ended up buying a couple of just like small plants to get started and just even learning about that. And it's consistency, right? There's a lot of stuff that you have to do consistently to help you. But just like that example, yeah, it's like, and that's where social media, I think, can come in and help us get that reach. But the other point to this, I think, is that for me, it's always been, I see that there are Band-Aids and there are quick fixes and there are symptom relief, but the root of the issue is what we need to treat for sustainable, long-term health, happiness, and care. And that's the approach I take. That's what I've taken my entire life. And the reason I prescribe to that outlook is that when I was growing up, there was a lot of untreated mental illness. There was a lot of substance abuse around, and not just in my family. It was like people at school, people in the neighborhood, like it was a lot. And so, the things that, and they would unfortunately pass away from substance overdoses or things of that nature. And that is a Band-Aid for pain that they didn't get to be healed. And so that's for me where I wonder what their life would have been like had they treated the root of that issue.
I like that. Get down to the root of the issue versus putting a Band-Aid. So I say that in business too, not even just in my business. I'll say in my 9 to 5.
Yeah.
I say it in my 9 to 5 all the time. Like, we are putting Band-Aids on a long-term problem. Or even at some points, I'm saying we're putting Band-Aids on something that need a tourniquet. We're bleeding out here. We need to fix what's really happening. And it takes a person that's really insightful and to be able to have that insight with people to really figure out what that root is and to figure out how we're going to solve the root issue, not to slap a Band-Aid so you feel all right. And I like that you do that with your clients.
Hey, if you are enjoying our show, please hit that subscribe button or hop on over to LinkedIn and follow me at Lindsay Trammell Jones, Brand Identity Designer. That's where I share tips, more insight on branding, and why it's so important as a DEI organization to ensure that your brand is up to par. Okay, that's it. Enjoy the rest of the episode.
So you're very successful, looking holistically. Is there a time in your business where you made a mistake and you was like, I'm not coming back from this? Like, mistake in your life, it was like, and if you want to share what that looks like, was there a time where you was like, man, I just might as well throw the whole business away?
I think everyone goes through that as a business owner. I feel like that's just like a thing that happens. Like, I'm going to go work at Starbucks. That was always my joke, because I was going to go work at Starbucks. Yeah. Even like the smell of coffee, really. So that one works out either. Hello. Anyway, I think for me, so basically one of the stories I like to share, and again, something that I like to work with my clients on is the whole burnout factor, right? So when I was working for a 9 to 5 job, I took on way too much. I was trying to do it all. I was really trying to prove myself, trying to get the letter, really all the things, the natural kind of traps, if you will, that can be the path of burnout. And at the same time, I had decided I had my license. I really wanted to start doing therapy, work with my specific therapy clients with clinical issues. And there was no other time for me to work on it except for the weekend. So it ended up some weeks I was working 7 days a week, and it was just too much. It really piled on me, as you can imagine. And then I burned out. I was really ill physically. It was just not good, right? Yeah. So I said, you know what? This is never happening again. I'm getting out of this. I went full force into my first business, which is my therapy business. And then of course, and then it was good, right? I got to detox from that because I had more free time. I was building up my clients. I had a little base, but I was building it up. So it wasn't not a lot of pressure, all of that. But I did the pricing mistake of saying, oh, as long as I make more than I did at my other job, I'm good. I was charging $35 an hour.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am. Because the going rate also, heads up, was like $120 an hour in the area. Whoa. Okay. And so then I got a lot of clients, but I was burning myself out because I was not spacing it out. I wasn't charging enough, all of those different things. So that's where I had the burnout pattern come back again after I had said, this is my solution. My business is the solution. I'm not going, because how? I don't have meetings. I don't report to people, right? Like how?
Why am I tired?
So that was then a really great reality check. I haven't done that since then. So thankfully we learned the lesson.
Growth.
But yeah, so then that was a huge lesson where I was just like, oh, wait a second, I really messed up here. And this is not good. But then I made those adjustments too. Because also when you do that, you also attract a certain type of client that you don't necessarily don't want to work with too. That can also happen. That's all was going on at the same time. And so then I made those adjustments, raised my prices. I had hired a business coach at the time. And so we were really working through all of the things with that to structure that in a better way. Yeah. The time where I was like, oh no, we're doing this again. And it was terrible.
So I would say your lesson for that another lesson from that would just be to, and I know people always say know your worth.
Yeah.
But it is true. You have to know not just know your worth, but know your boundaries and know your limit. I guess that's the best word. Know your limit. Know your limit and don't find out before it's too late. Know before you reach it.
Exactly. And that's where I'm like, let's talk about burnout prevention. Okay. Like let's not even address the burnout. Obviously, let's address the burnout if it's happening to you. But let's put in place things so that you don't even get there. And that is the foundation, right? The boundaries, the charging and I really struggle with the charging your worth thing because of like your worth is not measurable in money, I don't think. But charging for maybe your expertise, your experience, the market rate, whatever you want to charge, right? All that goes in there. Your confidence with pricing, right? Like all that goes into that. But yeah, it's having the foundations of charging so that you can pay yourself, make your business profitable, knowing your boundaries, saying no to stuff that you honestly don't need to do. Because I think there's also that taking whoever client credit cards with a pulse.
Whoever swipes the card, I'll take it. It ends up messing with you mentally. Your wallet might be fine. Your bank account might be fine, but mentally it is taking a toll on you. And I've gotten to the point in my life where if it's going to take me down, it's not worth the financial gain that I'm going to get.
Yep. It's at this point where energy becomes more important than money.
Yes, it is.
Because money is replaceable. Your energy, right? Like you really have to protect that. You have to figure that out, right? That's a whole different ball of wax.
Yeah, it is. Did you always want to get into therapy and social work?
I did. Let me just say, so when I was younger, I took an entrepreneur class. Actually, I think I was in, I want to say 7th or 8th grade, something like that. We had an elective where we had a teacher come in and talk to us about building a business plan and stuff like that. And so, at first I was like, what was I going to do? I was going to be a fashion designer, and then I was going to just open like a hair salon. Whatever. It didn't matter. But then after all of the things I was telling you about that I saw, I was like, no, I really want to help people make a difference in their life, because I believe that if people are able to get to the root of their stuff and make the changes and care for themselves in the way that they can, that it's going to ripple impact. It's going to ripple impact their friends, their family, their community in a positive way. And that's the part that I wanted to really get in on. So that kind of shifted things for me that way.
So you were already on this path. Would you say that young 10 to 12-year-old Angela is proud of who you are?
That and that's what kind of inspired me to think about that question of like when I was younger, what I want to do too. And yes, I would say she's very proud of me, because I grew up in a way that was like my self-confidence was lower, and it was difficult for me to speak publicly. I would be nervous for presentations all the time. There was a lot of stuff, and I didn't really speak my mind as much as I do now. And I wasn't confident as I am now. So there's a lot of things that I think she would be so proud of, because it's a big difference from where I was and felt internally as a young person.
Okay. So what are some things would you tell someone that's looking for where to start with their mindset?
Yeah.
what is some words of advice?
Yeah. So if you're noticing, and this is where I see people, typically my clients are like pretty self-aware. They have goals, they have ambitions, they're on their way.
Mhm.
But there's one area, right, that's like
Mhm.
kind of stunting their growth or holding them back, they feel like. When you notice that, I start to turn inward and ask
Mhm.
yourself questions. What's coming up for me? Why do I feel this way? Where have I seen this before? Is this a pattern for me? How does this make me feel in my emotions, in my mind, in my body? And so it's starting to get clarity. That's the first thing. So the
Mhm.
sooner we can get clarity on what that root is, that root issue that's going on, or that root challenge, or that root stumbling block, however you want to label that, that's when we
Mhm.
can then bring in those holistic solutions to help you get in that right path. So it's starting with clarity. It's starting with that tuning in and turning in to ask yourself the questions to get clear on that.
Tuning in and turning in, put it on a t-shirt.
Yes.
Put it on a t-shirt. You said something before we wrap up, but you said something that just made me think. When I think mindset, and I haven't worked with anyone with mindset work, when I think mindset, I always like it's a total mindset issue. I don't think of it being different sections.
Mm-hmm.
And the way you explained it, as there's something, not just your whole mind is jacked.
Yeah.
It is a piece somewhere that's just holding you back, and you need
Mm-hmm.
to work on that. It
Yeah.
might not be the whole thing. It may just be
Right.
this part. So I
Mm-hmm.
like that, because that's one thing that when I always hear mindset coaching, okay, my head is the whole thing, not
Right. That's a good point. And I'm glad you brought that up because again, it's when we're so immersed in what we don't really think of it of talking about it that way. Because for us, like I said, the majority of my clients are like, okay, I got one or two things that I really want to work on
Mhm.
versus everything's chaos. No, not everything's chaos. Usually when
Yes.
you're in that sort of a headspace, it's hard to even get the clarity to know to reach out to someone too. So
Mhm.
those people might be in a pre reaching
Yes.
out, or they may be just reaching out and just saying, hey, my life is chaos. I need help sorting all of it. And
Yeah.
that happens too, for sure. But I think with specifically the entrepreneurs and leaders and public figures that I work with, it's, hey, my relationship's really struggling because of my busy schedule. I don't know what to do. We're fighting all the time. Like
Mhm.
we're struggling, right? So it's figuring that part out. Or it's, I have the expertise, I have the experience, I have all of this stuff. I'm not making the money. What's going on here? And so we
Mhm.
do that digging to figure out what's that one block right here, right? What's the thing we need to shift that's going to open the floodgates for you with all of these things?
Is there anything you would like to share? Any last words you'd like to share to the audience?
I really want everyone to just take care of themselves. The only person, with some exceptions, some situation exceptions, but the only person that's going to truly take care of you and the way that you need is you. And I mean that by advocating for yourself. I mean that by going to your dentist appointment. And people, I know this is my work, right? It's not just one small thing. Actually, I learned from, I don't know if you know who Jasmine Haley is.
Mhm.
She also worked in dentistry before, and she had just put up a post about how you don't take care of your teeth, that can lead to heart problems. I didn't know that. But again, right? It's like we have to take care of ourselves. There are ripple impacts. Even, especially as a parent, I'm like, wow, the amount of like internal work that I need to do to help me with my patients and like all of these
Yeah.
things. I don't want it to ripple impact badly for my child or my husband or whatever. And so anyway, taking care of yourself, advocating for yourself, researching, getting curious, asking for help. I know it's hard, but I promise you, you will have the rewards on the other side. And sometimes it's hard to find those right providers or coaches or service therapists,
Mhm.
whoever. Keep going, keep trying. I know it can be hard to find that perfect fit, but it's out there. I promise. You just have to keep looking.
Where can people find you, Angela? On
Yeah.
social media? Yeah.
Social media, yep, everything. I think all my channels are at the Angela Marie Williams. So if you want to find me, I'm most active on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I also have a YouTube channel with lots of good information and also past episodes of the Bigger, Braver Life Show podcast. If you want to really dip your toe in or dive in to your own self-development and mindset and leadership and life support, go ahead and check all of those resources out there.
One last question, and I just thought about it. How does your mindset, and this is specifically for like my clients, how does mindset affect your brand?
Oh, I love this because I have personal examples. I'll go ahead and share. So, I think it's super interesting because I want to share this specific example because I think other people can relate to this in different ways. Mm-hmm. So as a psychotherapist, I am trained to show up to my clients and keep a neutral presence. We're behind the scenes, really just letting the person do their thing. I'm not giving lots of opinions or things like that, really. So that's the training that I went from as I started in that business. And then when I opened my coaching business, it was now a personal brand. That's the route that I chose. And so then I'm the face of my brand. Yeah. Now I have to give my opinions. I have to share my values and beliefs. I have to be outspoken about them. I have to be very visible. So that was the opposite of what I was trained to do. So that took a lot of mindset work. And so if you're not used to that, if you're not used to being visible, being consistent, sharing about yourself, and you don't have to share everything. And sometimes when we have trauma, that can cause oversharing, which is what you don't want to hurt your brand as well. But when you're doing that work, sometimes the spotlight is on us. And even though we're an expert, we become insecure about it. And so that's where the mindset work can really help you gain that clarity, that perspective, that mastery over your mindset and emotions when these situations happen.
Thank you for sharing it. Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you guys for listening to this episode of More Than a Brand. We're going to continue bringing you conversations like we just did with Angela. And make sure you follow Angela on social media and click that subscribe button.
If you want to, find us on social media at fiercified.agency on Instagram or find us on Facebook at Fiercified Creative and Consultant. Send me a DM. Let me know what you think. I would love to hear your input.
If you're enjoying the Bigger, Braver Life show, make sure to subscribe and leave a review so this show gets to more leaders like you. I also invite you to join the weekly newsletter fusing brain science, intuitive-based tools, tips, and strategies for you to elevate your potential, expand your impact, and enjoy your life. Get started at angelamarie.co.